The rugby world has been rocked by news that Springboks lock forward Etzebeth has been handed a 12-week suspension after being found guilty of intentionally eye-gouging a Welsh player during South Africa's test match against Wales in Cardiff last Saturday. The severity of the ban, which will see one of World Rugby's most prominent players sidelined until March next year, has sent shockwaves through the sport and sparked intense debate about player conduct, disciplinary procedures, and the future of one of the Springboks' most experienced and decorated servants. For Etzebeth, who has built a reputation as one of the toughest and most competitive players in international rugby over a career spanning more than a decade, this represents the most serious disciplinary action he has ever faced. The incident that led to this lengthy suspension occurred late in the Springboks match against Wales at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. South Africa were comprehensively defeating a severely weakened Welsh side when a scuffle broke out involving multiple players from both teams. In the midst of this altercation, television cameras captured Etzebeth making finger contact with the eyes of Welsh flanker Alex Mann. The images, broadcast to millions watching around the world and subsequently shared widely on social media, appeared damning. Match officials reviewed the footage and made the decision to show Etzebeth a red card, meaning he was sent from the field and would face a subsequent disciplinary hearing to determine any further punishment. The verdict from that hearing was supposed to be made public on Sunday, but various sources in the United Kingdom and Ireland published details of the decision ahead of the official announcement. The hearing itself took place on Tuesday, with the 34-year-old Etzebeth appearing via video link rather than in person. This format has become standard practice in modern rugby disciplinary proceedings, allowing players to participate regardless of their location, while also streamlining the process and reducing travel requirements. The disciplinary committee assembled to hear the case was chaired by Christopher Quinlan, a King's Counsel with extensive experience in sports law, alongside two former international players who brought their own rugby expertise to the proceedings: Leon Lloyd, a former England international who enjoyed a distinguished career at club and international level, and Becky Essex, who represented England women's rugby team with distinction, sat on the panel. This combination of legal expertise and playing experience is designed to ensure that disciplinary decisions are made with both proper legal process and genuine understanding of the game's demands and realities. The committee's task was to review all available evidence, including multiple camera angles of the incident, and to consider submissions from both Etzebeth's representatives and from the citing commissioner who brought the charge. After careful deliberation, they concluded that Etzebeth's actions constituted intentional contact with an opponent's eye area. This is one of rugby's most serious offenses, considered dangerous play of the highest order because of the potential for severe and permanent injury. Eye gouging has no place in rugby at any level, and World Rugby has consistently taken a hard line on such incidents to protect player welfare and maintain the integrity of the sport. The finding of intentional contact was crucial to the severity of the punishment. Had the committee determined that the contact was accidental or reckless rather than intentional, the starting point for any suspension would have been significantly lower. However, having concluded that Etzebeth deliberately made contact with Mann's eye area, the disciplinary framework required them to begin with a mid-range entry point of 18 weeks. This represents World Rugby's assessment of how serious this category of offense is, and the framework allowed no scope for a lower starting point given the nature of what occurred. However, the panel did take into account several mitigating factors when determining the final length of suspension. Most significantly, they considered Etzebeth's exemplary disciplinary record throughout his long and distinguished career. This was particularly noteworthy given the sheer number of matches he has played at the highest level. Etzebeth has represented the Springboks in 141 test matches, an extraordinary achievement that places him among the most capped players in South African rugby history. In none of those previous appearances had he ever been shown a red card. His record in club rugby was similarly clean. This history of generally disciplined play, despite his aggressive and physical style, worked in his favor during sentencing. The committee also would have considered Etzebeth's conduct during the hearing itself, whether he showed remorse, accepted responsibility, and demonstrated understanding of why his actions were unacceptable. These factors, combined with his clean record, led the panel to reduce the suspension from the starting point of 18 weeks down to 12 weeks. While this represents a significant reduction, it's important to note that a 12-week ban is still a severe punishment that will have major consequences for both Etzebeth and his club team. A full written judgment detailing the reasoning behind the decision has been published in the discipline section of the Six Nations Rugby website, offering transparency about how the committee reached its conclusions. This level of detail is important for maintaining confidence in the disciplinary process and ensuring that similar cases in the future can be judged consistently against established precedents. The practical impact of this 12-week suspension is devastating for the Sharks' Etzebeth club team in the United Rugby Championship. He will miss virtually the entire remainder of their domestic and European season, a period that includes crucial matches in both competitions. The list of fixtures he'll be absent for is extensive and includes some of the most important games on the Sharks' calendar. He'll miss both of the Sharks' remaining Champions Cup pool matches in December against Toulouse and Saracens, contests that could determine whether they qualify for the knockout stages of Europe's premier club competition. He'll be unavailable for the crucial local derby matches against the Bulls, Lions, and Stormers in the United Rugby Championship. By the time he's eligible to return at the end of March, the Sharks' season will be in its final stages, with playoffs either approaching or already underway, depending on their performance in his absence. For a player of Etzebeth's quality and experience, being forced to watch from the sidelines for 3 months represents both a personal frustration and a significant blow to his team's prospects. He's not just any lock forward, he's one of the best in the world, a player whose physical presence, line-out expertise, and work rate make him virtually irreplaceable. The Sharks will need to find a way to cope without their talisman during a critical period of their campaign. And while they certainly have quality players in reserve, replacing what Etzebeth brings is an enormous challenge. The suspension also raises questions about Etzebeth's international future. At 34 years old, he's in the latter stages of his career, though he's shown no signs of declining physically or losing the competitive edge that has defined his playing style. The ban won't directly affect his availability for the Springboks, as South Africa's next test matches won't occur until the middle of next year. However, the lack of game time during these 3 months could impact his conditioning and match sharpness when he does return. For a player who has been so durable and consistently available for selection throughout his career, this enforced absence represents unfamiliar territory. The reaction to the ban has been mixed among rugby fans and observers. Some believe 12 weeks is appropriate given the serious nature of eye gouging and the need to send a clear message that such behavior will not be tolerated. Others argue that the punishment is harsh, particularly for a player with no previous disciplinary record, and suggest that the reduction from 18 to 12 weeks wasn't generous enough given the mitigating circumstances. The debate reflects broader tensions in rugby about how to balance player safety with recognition that the sport remains inherently physical and that incidents will occur in the heat of intense competition. For Etzebeth, this represents a major stain on an otherwise exemplary career and a reminder that momentary lapses in judgment can have severe consequences.